لبلينغهام ربما الثالث الله الله.
In the summer of 2023, Real Madrid paid 103 million euros for a 19-year-old. Not a striker, not a creative playmaker in the traditional sense. A midfielder. The kind of player football's greatest analysts said would need at least a full season to find his feet at the Bernabeu. They were wrong. By the end of his first campaign in La Liga, Jude Bellingham had scored 19 league goals.
En dat was Mbappé, en daar is Bellingham, en daar is de gelijkmaker. 1-1 via Jude.
More than most forwards. More than players who had spent years in that system. He hadn't just adapted, he had immediately become one of the most decisive players in the world's most demanding football environment. So how did a boy from Birmingham get here? How does a teenager walk into Real Madrid and look like he was born for it? That story, and everything it tells us about the future of this sport, starts not in Madrid, not in Dortmund, but in the West Midlands of England. Jude Bellingham was born on the 29th of June 2003 in Stourbridge, a town just outside Birmingham. He grew up in a football family. His father Mark played semi-professionally and was enrolled in Birmingham City's academy before most kids his age had figured out what position they wanted to play. Birmingham City is not a glamour club. They are a championship side with a proud but battered history, the kind of club that produces grit before it produces glory. And for a young player, that environment can either break you or build something exceptional. It built something exceptional. In August 2019, just weeks after his 16th birthday, Bellingham made his professional debut for Birmingham City, becoming the youngest player ever to appear for the club. Let that land for a moment. The youngest in the club's entire history. He wasn't eased in gently. He was thrown into the Championship, one of the most physically demanding second divisions in European football, and he competed. Over his single season at Birmingham, he played 44 matches, scored 4 goals, and contributed 3 assists. The numbers themselves aren't extraordinary. What was extraordinary was everything else. The composure, the decision-making, the ability to read a professional game at an age when most players are still in academies, dreaming of a debut that may never come. The football world took notice. Not just English clubs, everyone. In the summer of 2020, Bellingham chose Borussia Dortmund.
Jude Bellingham, this is absolutely brilliant! Jude Bellingham!
The fee was around £25 million, significant for a 17-year-old. But Dortmund's pitch wasn't just money, it was history.
And the spin and the turn, Bellingham's there for Dortmund!
This was the club that had developed Robert Lewandowski, Mats Hummels, Ilkay Gundogan, Ousmane Dembele, Jadon Sancho, Erling Haaland. Their whole model was built around identifying elite young talent and giving it a stage, a proper stage, in the Champions League, in the Bundesliga, rather than protecting it in reserves football until it was deemed ready. Bellingham thrived immediately. In his first season at Signal Iduna Park, he scored 4 goals and added 4 assists. Solid production, but more than that, he was becoming a fixture in a Dortmund midfield that was expected to compete. By his second season, the numbers jumped. 6 goals and 14 assists. A significant leap that showed he wasn't just settling in, he was developing. Then in his third and final season at Dortmund, the numbers told a different story again. 14 goals and 7 assists. He had become a goal threat from midfield, a genuine one. The trajectory was almost unnervingly linear, each season measurably better. Each season, more responsibility, more influence, more weight on his shoulders. And with it came something harder to quantify, a captain's aura, at an age when most players are just grateful to be on the pitch. He wore the armband. He spoke to referees like he had earned the right. He celebrated like he felt every goal in his chest.
Works it well. Bellingham! Special!
Bellingham wasn't just progressing, he was becoming a leader. By the end of the 2022-2023 season, the conversation had shifted entirely. This wasn't a promising youngster anymore. This was a player that every major club in Europe wanted. Liverpool wanted him, Manchester City wanted him, Manchester United wanted him, Chelsea wanted him. He chose Real Madrid, 103 million euros. That's the kind of fee that rewrites the expectation. It doesn't just demand performance, it demands immediate, undeniable performance. At Real Madrid, patience is not a currency the club trades in freely. You produce, or the crowd lets you know. What Bellingham did in his first La Liga season was, by any rational measure, absurd. 19 goals in the league, over 23 across all competitions, from central midfield. To understand why this is so remarkable, you need to understand what a traditional central midfielder is asked to do: press, recover, distribute, connect lines of play. Goals are a bonus.
Bellingham, across goal, and it's forced home!
19 goals in a season is what elite forwards produce. Bellingham was doing it from deeper positions, arriving late into the box, timing his runs with the instinct of a striker and the engine of a midfielder. He had gone from 4 goals in his first Dortmund season to 19 in his first Real Madrid season. The jump was not incremental, it was seismic. Sometimes the only way to truly understand what you're watching is to step back and let the numbers speak. So let's do that. It starts in Birmingham. A 16-year-old. 44 appearances in one of European football's most unforgiving second divisions. 4 goals, 3 assists. Not the numbers of a world beater, but the numbers of someone who was already refusing to be invisible. Then Dortmund. Year 1, 4 goals, 4 assists. Fine numbers for a teenager in the Bundesliga, still finding his shape. Year 2, 6 goals, 14 assists. Now the creation is flowing. He isn't just running, he's thinking, connecting, pulling strings. And then year 3, the one that changes the conversation entirely. 14 goals in his final Dortmund season, from midfield. At that point, every informed analyst in European football was paying attention. But nothing prepared anyone for what came next. For context, in the same La Liga season, several of Real Madrid's recognized attackers scored fewer. Bellingham, operating as a midfielder, a player whose primary job description has nothing to do with finishing, outscored them. That is not a coincidence or a quirk of form. It is evidence of something structurally different about how this player engages with the game. The line from Birmingham to Madrid drawn through those numbers is not a line of steady, modest improvement. It is an almost vertical climb, the kind of career graph that makes scouts go quiet and coaches reach for superlatives they don't normally use. So what makes Bellingham so difficult to stop? The answer is layered. At his core, he is a box-to-box midfielder, meaning he does everything. He defends when his team doesn't have the ball, pressing high up the pitch, cutting off passing lanes. When his team does have the ball, he drives forward, connecting midfield to attack, arriving in areas that leave opposition defenders with impossible choices. His runs into the penalty area are elite level. He reads the game early, identifies the space before it appears, and times his arrival with precision. By the time a defender realizes Bellingham is in the box, the ball is already with him. It's the kind of intelligence you can coach partially, but mostly you're born with it or you're not. Then there's the physical profile. Bellingham is not a slight, technical player who needs protection from physicality. He is powerful, athletic, difficult to dispossess. He can carry the ball at pace through contact, hold off challenges, and still make the right decision in tight spaces. That combination, physical dominance and technical quality, is rare. It's the kind of thing that allows a player to be effective not just in one league, but across all of them. And underpinning all of it, leadership. Bellingham plays like someone who understands that football is also theater. His celebration against Napoli in his first Champions League campaign for Madrid, arms wide, crowd on its feet, wasn't just passion. It was communication. It said, "I belong here." And slowly, inevitably, everyone else started to believe it too. Jude Bellingham is 22 years old at the time of writing. That is the strange and slightly destabilizing truth at the center of all of this. The career arc we've just traced. Birmingham City Academy to Champions League regular at Real Madrid, with a statistical progression that reads like a cheat code, has been compressed into a window of time that barely spans a single decade of adult life. The question football is now asking is not whether Bellingham is world-class. That debate ended somewhere in the streets of Madrid in the autumn of 2023. The question is what the ceiling looks like. Because the players who share his combination of physical authority, tactical intelligence, technical range, and goal-scoring instinct, there are not many of them. Zinedine Zidane had some of it. Patrick Vieira had some of it. Steven Gerrard had some of it. Very few players have had all of it at this level, at this age. The next great superstar of world football is not a distant prospect. He's already here. He's already arrived. And if the arc of his development continues on anything like its current trajectory, if he keeps adding to his game the way he has done every single season since he was 16 years old in the championship, then what we've seen so far is not the summit. It's just the beginning.